Hello, you're listening to Good Stuff in Between podcast with me, Shaun Milne, the show that goes behind the scenes of the music industry to get the stories, experiences, and most of all the advice from those in it for those who are just embarking on their own journeys. Today I'm delighted to welcome back Willie Campbell, this time wearing his Tumbling Souls cap, as they get ready to release new music, play new shows, and of course, hit the HebCelt Festival in July. There's a bit of nostalgia in there too, as we go back to 1995, which he'll explain a bit more about in just a moment. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, sit back and hope you enjoy today's show.
If I could only read your mind with superhuman power, life would be a breeze sometimes. The good stuff's in between the lines. My thoughts and my feelings still tell 1,000 lies. But now you're taking away my sorrow, you're taking away my fear. We're not promised tomorrow, so let me hold you close, my dear. Nothing's gonna bring me down. No thinking about the past while we're building for tomorrow. Nothing's gonna bring me down.
Willie Campbell, welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
We're here to talk about the Tumbling Souls, who are back with a bang. New music on the way.
Yeah, we've got all the songs written and partially recorded for our next album. It's got 2 singles ready to go, and very excited about it. I must say, it's sort of the sound has evolved a little bit, and it's just got a really nice, fresh sounding energy to me. So I'm keen to hear what people think.
Well, they'll be able to hear it very, very soon, we hope. I'm lucky enough to have heard a couple of the tracks. We'll get into that in a wee second, but just in general, you're like one of the busiest people I know. You've been doing the Tumbling Souls, got your own stuff going on, the HebCelt Festival period, you're playing HebCelt with Tumbling Souls as well. How's life been?
Oh, it's been great, actually. It's been really lovely. It's an interesting year, and like many full-time musicians, you have to do multiple gigs to make it work, and I would love nothing more than just to focus purely on the Tumbling Souls and my solo work. But the reality is you just got to be pedaling away doing different projects, and none of it's been a chore. It's all been lovely stuff that's coming. I'm really excited about the Metagamma show as well, and that's got a tour coming in October, and it's been a great year so far.
So Metagamma's been on tour before, hasn't it?
Yeah, we did a tour of the islands around the anniversary of the Metagamma leaving Lewis. We've done some spot shows. We did a couple of nights in London, but this HebCelt gig is going to be sort of the show that we did a couple of years ago on the initial tour. So there's an album coming out, and then the proper tour in October.
Has that been fun to work on again?
Yeah, just great people. I mean, yeah, I love these guys like Lisa, Charlie McCarran, Colin Malik, and just phenomenal players. I always feel like the junior kind of member in the room whenever we get together, but just, yeah, wonderful to play with them.
And you've been going out and about as well. I've seen you popping up in various places doing your own stuff. The thing I'm looking forward to most though is seeing you back with the Tumbling Souls on stage at HebCelt, as you are now an inductee of the Hall of Fame. What was it like when you got that call?
It was, mixed feelings. I mean, overriding feeling was just, pleased. I was really, really pleased. They thought that I was worthy of being included. I mean, like most artists as well, I get terrible imposter syndrome. So I was like, oh, this doesn't really feel right. But it's a real honor, that the festival's been so good for me. It was a massive confidence boost for me as well. The first HebCelt gig I did when I came home from Lewis, because it wasn't the best of circumstances, and confidence had taken a bit of a knock after the kind of Astrid falling apart and stuff. So getting to play on a stage like that again, really high standard production, and I absolutely loved it. And every year every gig I've done has been an absolute pleasure. I've got such a special place in my heart for the people that run it as well. So a real honour, actually.
Yeah, but every gig you do at HebCelt as well, if you see it, the crowd go mad for it. They're jumping, they're singing, they're dancing, they're clapping. It's almost like you're part of the institution itself.
That's lovely to hear that, because I suppose it's like, oh, Willie Campbell again. But Michelle has assured me that people are happy enough to see my name on the bill. So that's a good thing. I love the audience. I mean, it's a friendly crowd, though, man. They're just a mixture of music fans from abroad and the mainland and locals that are there for a good time. So it's a great kind of chemistry in the audience, I think.
You mentioned Acid there and how that moved, and then you had the reindeer section, you've had the open day rotation. How did the evolution continue into the Tumbling Souls? How did you guys all get together?
Really, I just sort of took a bit of a notion for country music. I mean, I'd always loved some country songs that I'd heard as a kid, like Jim Reeves and just big country hits. I always had a soft spot for the simplicity and the melodies, but I wrote one song called Dance a Little Better that sort of kicked it off, really. It was initially going to be a solo project, but it sounded so far removed from anything I'd done before. It felt like it needed its own label or brand or whatever you want to call it. So I continued writing some of these songs with a more country feel and just explored it more. And once these musicians came together, it felt like a unit in its own right. So it just kind of grew arms and legs from that one song.
You've been together for a while now, sort of 2017, 2018. I think it's when sort of Between the Truth and the Dream was released, your first album. And then you've gone on from End Up Running. Sailing a Balling Sea was the most recent one thereafter.
Yeah, Sailing a Boiling Sea was the one from the single that we released last year. That was a song that's got an Adam Sutherland tune included too. That Road to Irrigate's a really famous one of his tunes. When I played the song to the band, Stephen threw that in and it was just like perfect fit. It's like a wee jigsaw coming together. So I like that song. It's sort of a fresh. The take we got sounds just like us jamming in a room, and I like that one.
It seemed to be a really good reception for it when it came out as well.
I think people like that kind of thing that I think we're not bad at, fusing that country vibe with the trad elements and trying to keep a hold of that within the band because it's slightly unusual, I think.
Well, it's interesting that you are leaning into the whole country thing because there's a real trend with that just now. It would seem, you've got the likes of sort of Beyonce coming all country and enjoying it as well. Many other, mostly sort of American artists, it has to be said, and it appears to me sort of record labels and some venues are trying to embrace that now as a next thing. Where did your love of country come from?
I think country music's always been a big thing in Lewis. I was hearing it as a kid, and Hank Williams was a big favourite, and even my granny would know some of the words to these songs from her kids playing them upstairs. Lewis has always had a soft spot for country, and I think I just inherited it, really.
And do you think your new stuff, I've heard the first couple of tracks, for instance, 1995 and Nowhere in a Hurry, they seem to me to have like elements of country, but also elements of indie, elements of rock, a real energy about them, but a real sort of strong storytelling through them as well. How has that been in terms of style? Do you detect a change? Has it been a personal change? Or is it something that just came together?
I think that maybe the way I've been writing lyrics has become slightly more focused. I think you can draw on your own feelings, but come to the conclusion that it's good to set the scene in the first verse. It's a real thing in country music, where they call it the furniture. You add some details that'll kind of grab your attention. The first line of 1995 is about a boy on the waltzers, just kind of people of my age will remember the fair coming up to Lewis, and these people that were running the waltzers seemed like they were floating in the air, and just these wee images sort of to grab the attention initially, and then you can get more general and universal in the chorus. And I think these songs that are coming up are a bit more formed in that way, as setting a scene in the first couple of lines and then taking it from there.
Is the whole song threaded with sort of memories from Lewis and Stornoway? Yeah,
that song is very much about my childhood experience, growing up too early in the 90s, and Lewis was just, it's what you did. Everybody everybody got up to no good, and that was just the way it was, and it's bittersweet, I think, that song for me, and just seeing all of these people that have moved back to the island. It's quite nice to see. We kind of go away and we go daft, and then we come back to the place that we love the most, and it's sort of a song to these people as well, I suppose, that are kind of in their mid-40s, and I think there's something in my generation that we've never quite grown up, and I think that's sort of what I'm singing about as well. Just that the fire that never really goes out. We're still kind of not quite all there and not quite right, and it's no bad thing really.
What I liked about it is the fact that it left me with a huge grin, because it provoked all these kind of teenage memories for me as well. And I grew up in an Edinburgh housing estate a million miles away from like the castle grounds or some of the other places you might have frequented in your youth. But there's almost a bond between just the era of the time. 1995, what were you doing then? What was going on around us? It's nostalgic, but it's fun. It's almost a little bit, I'm not going to say emotional, but there's like a fondness to it as well. But it's almost like you're saying it's part confessional.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's lines in it about writing on the wall at 14 years old or 15 years old, whatever it was. That's kind of true for me. It's just some people went off and went daft. My daftness was just prolonged and more crazy. So there is a confessional element to it, and but I think that's no bad thing. It's just trying to not be fearful about that, because that specific line, I had a version that with alternative lyrics, because I thought maybe it was a bit too personal, but then I thought, oh, come on, you know what I mean? It's nothing. Nobody doesn't know about me anyway, so you might as well just put the line in, because it was a stronger line. So yeah, there's certainly a confessional, autobiographical element.
Now, everybody's also got a sort of camera in their hand these days with mobile phones, but do you still have like sort of photographs from back in the day?
I do, yeah. I've got I'm pretty sure up in the loft there's like an old Nike shoebox or a Converse All-Stars shoebox with, Polaroids and those Insta camera prints that you used to get with everybody wearing these kind of enormous jumpers and baggy jeans and stuff.
It's one of those things, once I heard that, I was like straight out to dig out my old ones as well, just to say, what was I doing back then? Who was I hanging out with? I wonder if other people would do the same thing.
I kind of hope so. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see how people respond to it that are, in my kind of age group and older, I suppose. There was a certain buzz. There was a real buzz about the 90s. It's the mid 90s for me, into the early 2000s was a really exciting kind of time for music, and just being confused and then finding my way with a band and things like that. It was a kind of incredible time. Not all of it was great, but lots of brilliant memories actually.
And tell us about the second track that you've shared with me as well, Nowhere in a Hurry. How did that come about?
I hesitate to say it's a bit of a mess thematically. It's one of these songs that I kind of sacrificed the meaning a little bit just because I liked the chorus. The images that I think run through it most strongly for me is that, abandoned houses on the island, and how a lot of them, I've sort of said this on stage quite a few times about we turn them into pieces of art really, and beautiful monochrome photos of these abandoned croft houses, but there's sort of tragedy attached to them for me as well. They're almost like monuments in a way. They remind me of, like churches. They seem like sacred places to me, these abandoned houses, because they're loaded with meaning. And that's really what sparked that song. There's a line in it about photographs gathering dust in the loft and forgotten faces of people that inhabited these houses. So I'm just trying to provoke a bit of thought around it, and just stubbornly standing your ground and living here, because it's not always that easy. I mean, like, people are drawn away for work and because the weather's terrible or the travel's awful, but there's so much that it gives people, and it's partly about that stubbornness of just staying where you are and keeping the community alive.
This presumably is all working towards a new Tumbling Souls album.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the basics of all the songs recorded. There's just tracking to be done, overdubs and stuff. And I'm set up in a way at home where I can finish some of them off myself. But Tumbling Souls is very much a band, I'm kind of pushing it along in a sense, but it's definitely more of a democracy than me, my solo stuff. So I'm really excited about it. The process has been interesting because the lineup has changed over the sort of last 3 years. And for someone like me that's quite opinionated when it comes to music, it's learning to sort of step back and allow people to have their own voice and contribute, because sometimes if you know what you want, you can stifle something and it won't realise its full potential. So this album, I think it's been important for me to kind of allow other people space for their own ideas, and I'm really excited about it. I think there's some really strong stuff on it.
So who are the core members currently then?
The core is myself, Spanish, Stephen Drummond, Kearney, DC and Louisa. That's the backbone of it. And we've got Paul Martin on electric guitar. He just joins us when he can. His work is quite demanding and he plays in multiple groups, but Paul just steps in whenever he likes, really, and will always make space for him.
And you've also been working very closely with Keith Morrison up at Wee Studio.
Yeah, we have. Keith has been recording and mixing these 2 tracks. Scott did half the mixing and Keith has done the other half, polishing it up really, and between them they've really got a great sound. They've got the best out of the performances, and Keith's really good at like capturing energy, and he won't say anything until he feels it's going to benefit what you're doing. It was really interesting watching that actually when we were over there. He kind of was very quiet and then he'd say something that was really constructive. So I think Keith as a producer has really come into his own in the last sort of 5-6 years, I think.
How fantastic is it to have a resource like that on Ireland?
I mean, we're so lucky. I mean, we're on a label, and it's almost like an old-fashioned 90s sort of deal where you get to record your album to the highest possible standard, and then of course they're going to recoup the money. But really fortunate to be able to do it that way, because it's such a struggle, man. Without funding, these days it's really difficult to make the thing that you want because of finances. So we feel hugely blessed to be on the Wee Studio.
He's obviously very prolific on social media when he can as well. You can just see how busy he is, all the different artists like yourselves that he's working with. But I think what comes through is his real passion for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of a kind. I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's got the studio running. He'll go on tour to America with Heron Valley. He's got the label, and he's a one-off, and he's really passionate about it. He's just such a fan of music, and I think his motivations have been good from the get-go, and I think with people like that, it pays off. You know what I mean? They do a lot of things out of goodwill, but then eventually, they'll be rewarded, because it's like this snowball effect of doing the next right thing, and Keith's a great example of that.
So it sounds like you've got a really exciting few months coming up. You've got obviously the festival, you've got these new singles coming out. Some point in the year you'll have the album. And you're doing a bunch of live gigs as well, not just HebCelt, but you've got the Heartlands Festival. I think you're doing Tunes in the Dunes in September.
Yeah, that's one of our favourites. It's a cracking festival, that.
So is it probably going to be a lot of time spent on the road then?
There will be. I mean, we're doing the Tame Gala as well, actually. It was a great gig last year, but we're all used to it. It's not like it's not something we do regularly as individuals or in separate bands. So it's just lovely when we all come together. It's just a great kind of vibe and a nice energy, and the crack is always pretty hilarious in the van too. The yarns are something special.
Who are you looking forward to seeing around Stornoway for HebCelt this year?
I'm pro Lulu. Lulu was good enough for Bowie and Hendrix, so she's good enough for the Castle Grounds. You know what I mean? I'm really excited by that. It's like, I think these seasoned pros have a knack of interacting with a crowd that's totally unique, and I think it's a great booking, and I'm really, really looking forward to that.
I was actually watching some of her performance down at Glastonbury, and she had the crowd eating out their hand. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, these people from the 60s and 70s just have a knack. It's just like, it's almost second nature. They've been doing it so long, and it's effortless, and I'm really excited for that.
There's always been a kind of, 50s, 60s sort of vibe, and maybe even kind of structure to the songs you do with the Tumbling Souls. Am I right in saying that, or have I just imagined it?
No, I think 60s music in particular, just, it's, my dad wasn't a guy that had Beatles and Stones albums lined up perfectly, beside the turntable. it was these 60s compilations that had 30 songs, and they were all absolute bangers, every one of them. And he had tons of these compilations. So I was hearing these songs as a kid in a Ford Escort and absolutely loving them. And I've always loved 60s song structure and Motown. My dad really liked Diana Ross, and I've always loved the simplicity and the melody. So yeah, I think undeniably there's a thread of that going through the Tumbling Souls music.
Okay, well, listen, you've done the quick questions before, so I'm maybe just going to change it up a little bit and test your knowledge of your bandmates, if I may, to see how we get on. What would you say has been the music of their youth? What sticks out? What's floats their boat in terms of old music, would you say? Maybe music from 1995, for instance.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, see, I forget I'm so much older than these guys. Blink 182 and who are the other ones? The Foo Fighters, like Kearney and Dave love playing and this really sludgy halftime kind of thing that metal bands used to do in the in like the late 90s. So I'd say Blink 182 is a big band for some of the group.
What's the last song you listened to?
The last song I listened to. Heck, let me check here, Shaun. Out of interest. Oh, it was the Bends. I was listening to the Bends yesterday.
Radiohead.
Yeah, Radiohead. Planet Telic. Because I was thinking about it because I'm becoming a bit of an anorak in my wee studio in the house. And Astrid's old sound man, when he came into a venue, would always sound check with Planet Telex, and I was interested to know why, and I sort of understand why he did it now because it's got really broad sound. And yeah, so that was the last song I listened to. That was a boring answer to a good question.
What do you think they'd prefer, an exclusive album launch or the festivals?
Festivals.
Do they have like favourite food or riders when they're out and about as well? Is there anything strange in there?
Room temperature Tennent's lager and tobacco in Spanish's case. Chinese food seems to be a massive thing in the band as well. So yeah, all of those things.
As a band, if you could collaborate with anyone today or from history, who do you think it would be and why?
Well, for me, I'd say Hank Williams or George Jones, but I wouldn't want to sully their ability with my kind of mediocre skills. But living, I'd say Steve Earle. That album he made, The Mountain, I'm not sure I would have taken such a nosedive into Americana and country without listening to that record. It's just absolutely phenomenal album, and I highly recommend people give it a shot. So Steve Earle.
As a group, if you're on tour and out and about, are you restaurant, cinema, or lazy Sunday brunches?
Cinema, I'd say.
Digital addicts, or can you all switch off?
None of us are good at switching off. Definitely digital addicts.
What does life look like after the band?
Well, probably the same for me, really, unless I find an alternative career miraculously. I don't know. I mean, I think I came to the conclusion ages ago that, especially with COVID, that the things I needed to have a happy life were pretty minimal.
One artist everyone should be listening to right now?
Hank Williams.
And from then to now, what's been the good stuff in between? What's your update?
The good stuff, oh, well, just, it's a bit of a corny answer, but just my family, seeing them growing, and I've got a lovely marriage, and I've got a bungalow that I live in, and I'm healthy, and just the same things that everybody likes in life. I'm thoroughly enjoying them too.
And as a group again, because we've also talked about you in terms of your solo stuff and your other work as well, but for like young emerging bands in particular, what kind of things have you learned? What's the advice, maybe the helping hand that's been extended to you guys that you think other people would benefit from knowing about?
Man, that's a really difficult answer because it's such a difficult world. It was always difficult, but I mean, I think I'm just slightly baffled by it, even though the playing field is more level in some way with socials. In other ways, it's more difficult because there's so little money involved now. I think there's just got to be a genuine love for it. So to just enjoy what you're doing. I mean, you've got to be enjoying it, not enduring it because you think there's some kind of fame at the end of it. I think that's it. It's just genuinely be in what you're doing and just tap into the sort of the wee moments that help you escape. It's almost like a spiritual thing when you're performing. Just don't you get all the woo woo out of it and just dig into it. That's what I'd say. Don't be ashamed.
Well, I can't wait to see all the smiles on the faces of people when they first hear 1995 and Nowhere in a Hurry. They are extraordinary pieces of work. I've been playing them over and over and over again since they've shared them. Really looking forward to those and hearing what comes next. And most of all, seeing you guys up at HebCelt Festival for another year. So Willie, Hall of Famer, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
I know now how I went so wrong.
You've been listening to Good Stuff in Between podcast, written, edited and produced by myself, Shaun Milne, in association with Screw Media Associates and the HebCelt Festival. Thanks very much to Willie Campbell for coming along on behalf of the Tumbling Souls. Be sure and find them on Instagram, Spotify, Facebook, wherever you can find them, because their new singles are extraordinarily good. You're going to love it. Better still, go and see them live at some of the places I mentioned, and of course up at HebCelt itself in July. Really looking forward to that. Willie, of course, provides the theme tune to the Good Stuff in Between as well, with Nothing's Going to Bring Me Down, and you can find out more of his music and other activity at williecampbell.co.uk. I'll be back very, very soon with another podcast. Thanks for listening.
Nothing's gonna bring me down. No thinking about the past while we're building for tomorrow. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Nothing's gonna bring me down. No thinking about